My pile is already full. I'm going to get a small one because I still have one piece that I need to place somewhere. Oh, this is going to be a separate one. Okay, so I'm done with all my pieces, and what I like to do is I like to bend the tails up a little bit because otherwise there's not enough space in my oven. So they don't go out that far. Oops. You don't want to push it off the tile, obviously. Okay, so they come a little bit up like so. Okay, so mine are ready to go in the oven. The temperature depends on what kind of clay you use. You want to check that. And I put them in the oven for 20 minutes because they're really thin pieces. So 20 minutes is definitely enough for that. So I'm going to put those in the oven. And then I come back, and if you have any questions, we'll talk about them. Okay. My oven is in the kitchen, so I have to get out of the studio for a second. Okay, so we have a couple of things coming in. Diana wants to know how to tint the translucent clay. Helen has her pieces in the oven. Lynn is having difficulty keeping the wire flat on the tile. And Barbara has some covered and wants to learn. Okay, so the tinting, yeah, I start just how they come in. How do I tint the clay? I'm using translucent clay, and I'm using alcohol inks. So this is my tray with the alcohol inks. I really like to use the Ranger inks because they have really nice earthy tones, which I like. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking translucent clay and roll it out on a number 1. So like so, that's the thickest setting. And then I just drop a couple of drops in here. I'm not going to do that now because it's a really messy thing and you need to leave them sit there until the alcohol ink is dry completely. As you can see, I've got tons of them. And I've got my sample pieces where you can see all the colors that you can make with the alcohol inks. And as you saw when I was rolling them out, they make the translucent clay a little bit brittle. So you can use it for certain things, but I wouldn't use it for all things. And here you can see all the colors I have. I just make test pieces and cut it out because sometimes the colors don't look the way they turn out. And what I really find strange is that there is a whole bunch of red colors that nearly look the same, but they are all different colors. So you need to test that. And then there's some really nice greens and some berry colors and brown. I don't really have a real blue. That's like a greenish blue. That's the only one I can get. So you have to be a bit careful with that. As I said, you just use your translucent clay, put some drops on there, and you start with 1 or 2 and let it dry until it doesn't move anymore. And then you fold it over so the color is inside of your fold and run it through the pasta machine. When you do it too early, you might tint your pasta machine. So as I said, it's a really messy thing. And yeah, that's basically it. No real secret to it. Lynn said she's having difficulties keeping the wire flat on the tile. Well, yeah, I rolled that out already. You need to roll out your clay. I'm just putting it back to thin setting. And put it on the tile and then pressing down your clay. So it's stuck to your tile basically. And I used all my shapes, so I can't really show you at the moment. Just let me make another one. Just making a shape now so I can demonstrate how to get it stuck. Okay. So here's my shape. And I'm putting it on the clay, and then I'm cutting a little bit off what I can see. I don't know. I don't need. So it's like under the tail. And oh, that didn't. And over that little loop where I'm hanging it, I don't need any clay. So I'm cutting that off with my blade. So it's like so, and then I'm pressing it down really hard with my fingers. So it's kind of embedded in the clay already. So I'm pressing that down really hard. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's in there. And then it's kind of sticking to the clay and it's not coming up. And then I start cutting off the sides. I'm just going around with my little knife. Oh, that was a bit close, like so. And then I start folding it in. Okay. I hope it's helping, Lynn. Okay, Barbara says she has some coverage. Jacquard inks are very intense and great with clay too. Yeah, that's just a personal preference. I think I really like the Ranger ink colors, but as I said, there's other inks out there. Or oil paint. Yeah. Ginger from the Blue Bottle Tree just posted on Facebook an article of all the things that you can use to tint clay. Maybe you want to have a look at that. I don't have the link now, but if you go on Facebook or if you put Blue Bottle Tree into Google, you get to Ginger's site, and she shows all the variants you can do, but she doesn't have the technique I'm going to show you in this workshop. So this is like an extra technique that she doesn't have. bonus content. Yeah, definitely. So we have to wait now until my shapes come out of the oven to show you the next step, but I already can show you what we're doing as the next step. I like to add some tiny pieces of cane on here, and they can be really simple canes, like this is just a bullseye cane. And I made a couple of them for the demo pieces. It's just like a tiny bullseye, nothing special about that. And you can use those, but on the other demo pieces, I also had some canes that were a little bit more complicated. So you can also use ones that you already have. I'm not sure you can see that, but that's a jelly roll cane. No, wrong direction. I'm not sure it's taking it. And here I have one that's a little bit more complicated. Yeah, you should be able to see that. And here's one. So you don't need many, and it's just tiny slices, and you can totally use up things that you have lying around. So here's also like a small bullseye cane. The black stripes on there we're going to add later. So what you can do now is either make a bullseye cane or use up one of the canes you already have. And that's why I said to have some white and blue clay. So that is the bullseye cane I made for this one. But since I just, oops, yeah, here it is. So since I just have a bunch of them lying around, I'm not going to make new ones. So why don't I add the canes on the shapes and put them in the oven together? I really want to have the canes only on one side, and I want to decide which side it is when it comes out of the oven. So I always have the canes all put on one side of my piece. And if I want to lift that shape off my tile, I needed to have it baked first. So that's why I'm putting it in there. So are you all familiar with making a really easy bullseye cane, or do you want me to demonstrate that? If there's no need, I show you something else.
We had a question over here about the loops at the top of the piece. Are they parallel to your tile or perpendicular to your tile?
They're parallel.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the tile I baked, and I haven't removed them yet. So you can see here is the wire in the clay, and that's how the loops are. They're not like this, they're like this.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I think we just proceed, right? Looks like most of you are back from the break. Okay, as I said, I've taken this out of the oven and it's cooled down so I can touch it. And I removed a couple and already did the next step so you don't have to wait for me baking. So I'm going to demonstrate the next step on this, and then I show you what came out of the oven the second time, and then we just can proceed without another break. Okay, so when they come out of the oven, what I'm doing is I'm taking my blade and just like slip under them to remove them from the tile. And it's pretty easy. Once they kind of gotten loose, it's very easy to lift them. So I'm doing that with all of them. This is the one I made later. That's why it has such a short tail, but that's okay too. So these are the two I did with a tinted clay. Oops. And when I put it closer, you can see that the rim of them is a little bit, I'm just trying to get my camera focus. You can see that it's broken. And that's what I've been talking about. You can fix that, but of course it's better if it just doesn't happen in the first place. But there's also another issue with the color, which I will show you in a second. So I've taken them all off. I put my tile to the side. And what I'm doing now is what you can see here. So this is the next step from this to this. I'm just adding the cane slices, right? And I seem to like 3 cane slices. But if you want more, you can put on more. If you want less, you use less. Whatever, it's open to what you like. So as I said, I have these little bullseye canes here. There's nothing exciting really, it's just like a small bullseye cane. And I'm just going to cut off tiny slices and press them on my prepared pieces. I'm going to do that now. And I'm trying to make them really thin because I don't want to have like thick blobs sitting on my pieces. Okay, so these are my cane slices. And I'm just taking them on my finger like so. And of course I can still move them around where I want to have them. And then I just press them down. And I'm doing that until I have all my cane slices on here. And I do like it when they kind of make a little cluster on there. But you could also have like a row or something. So that's totally up to you. And there you can play with your cane slices. So I'm just going to do that now with all my pieces. And then I show you the ones that are already done with the cane slices. So I'm going to take a red now. Of course, you could also mix and match canes. You don't have to have 3 of the same kind. Can be different ones, or they could also be a little bit more complicated than my simple ones here. So this one I put more in a row. And I also can touch and get a little bit on top of each other. You just have to press them down a little bit more so it's not like little bumps on there. Okay, so I think I want the blue one for that. So here's all my pieces with the cane slices. And of course you do it for all the pieces that you have. And those go back into the oven for another 20 minutes. I like to do it for 20 minutes because I put it in a cold oven, or, well, as much as it has cooled down now. So I'd like to give it a little bit more time to really cure it. But as I said before, it's really thin, so it won't need a long time. Okay, I'm just going to put that in the oven, and then I show you how we proceed with the pieces that I already prepared. Barbara is asking if I don't have any issues with the bonding and no need for liquid clay or anything. No, actually, I don't do that, and I never had any issues. But it's also like there is no pressure or any force on these slices, and they are so tiny. They just stick there, and I think adding liquid just makes it more complicated than it actually needs to be. And I think if you just press it on there properly, nothing is going to happen. And even if it would fall down, you could put it back in the oven and cure it again, but that actually never happened to me. So, any more questions so far? Doesn't look like it. Okay, these are the pieces I already baked. The cane slices have cured. And now I'm showing you the next step. What I like to do is add the color now. And for that, we're going to take out our pens, and now we can have some fun with that. Well, I'm also adding this. I want to show you these three pieces because I prepared that already, and I think it's quite good to see. So this is the first one, the second, and the third. I show you why. What I'm doing is I'm turning around the pieces, so I have one layer that doesn't have any clay canes on it. So I have an even clay layer that I can paint. And what I also do that I think you should be able to see that here is I'm adding different colors and make dots and other little marks. And here you can see the black marks I added on there. So, and this one, I think you should be able to see it. It's not a solid color. It's like stripes of other colors in there. And that is exactly the difference to the ones I did with the tinted clay, because that is a very solid color going from top to the bottom. And I won't be able to make any of these effects. And I really like that. And I think it adds a lot to making it look more organic, because if you look at plants or outside in nature, it's hardly ever a consistent color over the whole surface. And I think that makes it look very artificial. So if you have some variations in there, it makes it look more natural. So I'll show you now how I do that. I'm just taking out this one because that has a lot of surface. And you see there is one of these little specks in there from the pasta machine, but that doesn't bother me because I'm going to add little specks anyway. So these are, there's a question, just let me check that. No, I don't sand anything. And with those, they are pretty smooth. That's why I'm taking so much care and using this little tool to smooth them out, because then I don't need to sand anything. But with the broken pieces and when it's, sometimes I have, like here, I have like this little thing in here. And what I'm doing is I'm taking my scissors and I'm just going in and cut it off. Did you see that? It's so paper thin, you can use literally just scissors to cut it off. And there's no need for sanding or anything like that. And if you really didn't take care, here you can see that's that little part I took off. So you can always use the scissors to cut something off that didn't go 100% right. But I'm quite happy. And as I said, I don't mind if it's a little bit wonky. So what I'm doing now is I turn it around so the clay, the canes are on the bottom and I have a smooth surface. And yeah, these are the pens I recommended to you, and I have a ton of them and I really like them. And what they are is, they are alcohol inks in pens. So it's basically the same with the little bottles I showed you earlier, but they have an extra quality, at least for me. You can put them on and then you have like 5 seconds and you can smear them over your piece and then they set. So that can give some effects. I'm going to show you. I'm using that red because that's really good to see. And what I'm doing is just laying it down and take my pen and go over it. And now I've got a couple of seconds and I can go over like so. And then you can see how I can blend it. And now I think it's already set. So it's quite quick. And I use my fingers. I always have paint all over, but I really like to do that. And what I can do now is, of course, I can go in and put more of the color in there, but I also can use a different color and make a blend from the other side. I'm just putting some in. So I'm just basically going in and putting a base layer in there, like the one in there. And when that is dry, I go back in and make some little dots. And if you group them around where you have the cane slices, I think it really adds to that organic feel of the piece. So I'm using the red ones for that. Of course, I don't just want like a little piece, I'm going all over really. But you can add some more on the rim of the piece and leave the center a little bit more light if you want to. Or of course you could also make a solid base, but you will not be able to do that when you use the already tinted clay. So that's what it looks here. I think I'm going to take out my black again. And that's what it looks like from the other side. If you want, you can also go over that rim and emphasize it a bit more. I think I'm going to do that because this side looks really nice, but here you have a lot more clay on the rim. So I'm going on this side too. And now I'll go in and make a couple of dots in there, but I think I'm going to use the blue. And the last step I would like to do is I'm taking one of the black pens, and I have one that's also by Faber-Castell, which is the same brand as the other ones you have here, but they have the black ones that come in different tips, and this one is F. I really like that tip because you can make like really nice marks with that. So I'm going over the cane slices and just make some marks in there. And that's the black lines you saw on the other pieces. I'm just making like tiny strokes on my cane and maybe a couple of points around canes. So that's how it looks now. And I'm really happy with that. I think it looks kind of like a pomegranate or something in that direction. So that's basically what I'm doing. And I'm doing that with all the pieces. So I'm just, if you have any questions, I'm answering it, or I'm just kind of painting them and show you a couple of variations, how you can do it. And of course, when you use a different color, it looks totally different. For example, this here is, I used that light green and that orange. I really like those colors. So I think, well, not that same one, maybe on this one here. And of course, you can kind of play a little bit with it. And when you find something that you really like, you can use it for all of your pieces on the earring. Maybe I should have washed my fingers before. Now a little bit of the red is coming off. So, and these pens are the ones I was referring to earlier when I said they are not in Ginger's list of all the things you can use for tinting the clay. And since there are alcohol inks in the pens, you don't need to varnish it or anything. They're just dry and they sit on there. And I had a couple of them for, I think these ones were the first ones I did. And they are, I think they're at least 10 years old now, and nothing has faded. So you don't need to worry about that. What I also like is if I just kind of make little streaks in another color on top. Like so. I think that also looks very nice. And from the other side, it's a bit more muted because the clay is on top. But if you want to have it like this on both sides, you just do it on the other side too. Just let that dry for a little bit. And if a color is not saturated enough for you, you just can go over it when it's dry and make it more intense. So I'm going to do that with that now and show you what I mean. Here is no here is no paint on there. Here is one layer, and there's 2 layers, and at the very tip I have 3 layers. So you can make kind of blends with just one paint as well. I just want to show you a little bit more what I did with those. Okay, now it's in focus. I just made like blends with that brownish yellow here and with the orange on top. And then I added some red dots, and also I made like a little trace with the black dots around the cane slices and just some little strokes on the cane slices. And here I added those green strokes and then little black dots around the cane slices. Oops. And this one I really like. It has this purplish pink in the middle and the light green on both ends, here and here. And then I just made like this little black trace with the dots and some strokes on the cane slices. So you can see you can really play with that and yeah, and have fun with how you decorate it. I'm just going to check on my yeah, Alan asked if the dots are on the front or on the back. Well, you can do both really. On here, I have green stripes on the front and on the back, but the black dots are usually put on the same side where the cane slices are, because I want to add them to the cane slices, and it doesn't make any sense if I would do it here, right? And this is like the show side or the front side, so I think it makes more sense to add it on the side where the little cane slices are. I'm just going to check on my oven if the other slices are ready, and then I decorate some more here. Okay. I'm just going on with my painting until the other cane slices have cooled down, because they're still a little bit too hot for my touch. And of course, you don't need to have the decoration of the pieces all the same. As I said, you can use different shapes with your leaves or different decoration. If you like, you can have them the same. I mean, with those, I always use kind of the same for one set of earrings, but you don't have to. And here you can also see this is green with just getting it's green with some purple stripes on there and some green dots on the back. And here's some little black dots on the cane slices. And this is red with some stripes on the back side and some yellow in the middle of the leaf, and also some black dots on there. And on the cane slices, little stripes. Okay, Cindy likes to know how many how many leaves per earring. That was the next topic. I've made different variations. I'm just going to get that a little bit out of the way here. This set here, I think, is the one I have the most leaves on there. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on this one here. So that's like the most I put on there. And I think these ones are the ones with only 4. So there is no rule for that. You can use as many as you like. The only difference you need to make is let's get this tangled in here. Yeah, you can see it better with this one. It depends how many you want, how your earpiece needs to look. This one has a really big hoop to get all the leaves on there. This one is much smaller. And I like to make my own ear wires. I told you can buy some or make them yourself. And I'm going to show you how to make them, but you don't need to do that. But that gives you control over how wide the wire is and how many pieces you put on here. And you can see if you use a lot of them, you would need a bigger hoop down here. So I'm going to show you how to do that part now. And then I show you how to make the ear wires and also how to hang them, okay? So where's my sample pieces? You basically got 2 options. Option 1 is to cut it all off. And option 2 is to make these little spirals down there. They both have their pros and cons. This one is, of course, much easier to make. And also, when you wear them, they don't get stuck in each other as much as those do. But I think those look much more fun. So I'm going to show you how to do both. With those, I show you what the problem is. It's especially with those, they always get stuck in each other and it's a nightmare to get them out again. And that happens especially when you have a lot of these pieces. But I think they do look much more fun, but yeah, then you have that issue always to get them out again. So I'll show you, first I'll show you how to do that. And that's the easier way. Which one am I going to use? I think I'm going to use this one. So let's say that would be completely done. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking my flush cutter, go in here and cut through. And if there is something sticking out, which it might do, then you just go back in and cut that off too until it's not sticking out, or you use the small file that I said to file that sharp piece off. So that's option one. And the second option, I use my trusty rods again. And this is the same size that I used for the top part. And what I'm doing now, and that's also why I left these long tails hanging off. So I'm just going in there and bend the wire around my rod, and I just like roll it up like so. And then turn it round. I'm doing the same with the other one. And you can adjust them a little bit or put them into each other. So here you have the spiral down here. Okay. So there you have the two options that I've done. So I've prepared some ear wires that I did earlier. They're really easy, and these are the ones I'm going to show you. They basically have a loop down here. They go up a little bit, make a bend, a curve, and then they're cut off. Of course, you can make them more complex if you want to, but they are totally fine. So what you do now is you just go in with your pliers and open up the hoop like so. You see that? You never push it. If that was the hoop, you never go like this. You always open it sideways. Can you see that? So you feed it in here. Like so. Well, that was the wrong way. You want to make sure that the show side is going to the front. So you feed it in all in the same direction, or with the cane slices going on top, and you put in as many as you want. And I just put in 2 now, but you can put in more. And then you take your pliers and close the hoop again. And there you have it. These are the earrings. Okay, do you have any questions so far? If not, I'm going to show you how to make the ear wires. Just let me check the chat if there's anything. Okay, I don't see any questions so far. And I'm just going to show you how to make the ear. Oh, no, there's one other thing I want to show you. Now, those pieces have cooled down. And I'm going to show you the difference to the ones that I've tinted. So I think, yeah, what's my little black tile here? You can already see that the rim of these are not as smooth as the other ones. There are a lot of cracks in there, and that doesn't make for a nice rim. The same with this one. So this is one thing that I don't like about those. But the other thing is, if you look at the variation of color in this one that I painted and those one, you see, I think this is much more interesting. And this is like one layer in one color, and I don't think it's as interesting. And also on this one, I could paint only with very dark colors. Here I can use light to dark colors and anything I want, not with this one. So that's the reason why I don't do it with that, but I'd rather use the translucent clay. Okay, while on the break, I just put the leaf pieces on that second earring. And here I just used the ones I had. So these are all different shapes and different sizes. And I think that looks kind of nice too. It's a different style than, let me just compare it with one other here. It does look different, of course. But I think if you go in one color family or maybe one shape family, that could also be a nice piece. So just try it out and see what you like. Okay, so let's go to the ear wires. So this is the second pair I had here, and this is what I'm going to show you. I have this wire here. It's a German brand, but I'm sure you should be able to get something similar. It's a copper wire, silver coated, copper wire, silver plated, and it's 1 millimeter. I don't know what gauge that is, but I really like that wire. It's nice and stiff, so especially when you have ear wires, if they bend too easily, I don't really like that. So I really like that wire, but you have to just go and see what you can source where you're located. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing that end a little bit through, and I want about half a round of that wire. I always can cut it off if it's a little bit too long. I'm taking my wire cutter and just cutting it off, and I'm always holding both ends of the wire. I don't want any wire flying, especially not in my eyes, so always be careful with that. And then I'm just laying the wires next to each other so I can measure how long my first one is and cut the second piece as well. So I have two pieces that are the same length. It's really stupid to show when I'm standing. Okay. So, and the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to make them straight because that's easier than when I have something that's bent. I'm using a couple of pliers that are not on my list. And I'm going to show you how to use them. And it really depends if you're working a lot with wire or not, if you want to use them. So these are straight nose pliers. And then I have these nylon coated pliers. And I hold my wire like so and just push it out with the nylon coat wires. And I'm doing that a couple of things. that has two effects on the wire. First, it makes it a little bit harder even because of the work hardening, but it also makes it straight. So this is the one I just made straight, and this is the other one. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. So now I have two relatively smooth, straight wires. Okay, I'm just taking that a little bit out of the way so it's better for you to see what I'm doing. So now I'm going to make these loops where I'm feeding in my leaves. And for that, I have these wires, these pliers, and I really like them. They have two different sizes. This is a little bit smaller and this is a little bit bigger. So I can make this size or that size, and I really like to use the bigger one for my hoops. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the wire in there, and the big one is on the bottom, and I'm holding the wire. And now I'm just bending my wire like so until it touches where I started, like that. And I'm doing the same with the other one. So the big piece goes on the bottom. I'm holding the wire with the pliers and just bend it around straight. Until I have that loop. Of course, now it's kind of sideways, so I don't want that. And then I'm using my smaller pliers and just bend it. So it's like in the middle of my loop. Okay, I'm doing the same with the other one. Just hold it here. And bend it like so. And now, I think that's a little bit too long, but that doesn't matter. I'm putting them on top of each other. They're not 100% the same, but I want to do both together so they get the same bend up here. And I don't want to go up really high because then I would have a really long part hanging down my ear. So I think I'm going somewhere in here. And I'm using those pliers again. And now I want the opening of the hook going into that direction. You can see it here. So here's the opening and the bend goes in that direction. So I need to have the opening here. And I'm holding both wires and bend them around the bigger piece, like so. And now they are pretty much the same. So I need to cut something off, and I always like to have it in the height of my my loop where I'm hanging it. So I'm going to cut it off like in the middle of the loop. I'm taking, so this is the middle. And I'm doing the same with the other one. And I still need to bend them a little bit until they are more straight. And down here, I need to cut off any sharp edges so I won't hurt myself when I'm putting in the ear wires. But that's basically it. That's like the easiest ear wires you can make yourself. If you never tried it, I would suggest you try it one day because it looks much nicer when you made your own ear wires and don't have the generic ones. Mary needs to go. Okay, thank you for joining us, Mary. Have a nice day. Do you have any questions about the ear wires? Or would you like to say anything or something else? Okay, I think that's basically all the things I want to show you. I'm going to stick around, and if anyone needs help or has any more questions, I'm here to answer it. I don't know, how do you want to do that now? Maybe Barbara, you can say something?
Something?
Thank you. Yeah, great. Now I know much more.
Yeah, it's up to you and everybody else that's still online. We're it's a little after 2. I don't know, you want to hang out till
Yeah,
another half hour if somebody's got questions, and then we
Yeah.
can call it? Does that, if other people want to chime in and unmute, that would be great.
yeah. I still have something I could show you if you're interested in seeing some more stuff and you don't have any questions. So we can also do that. That's also an option.
We're always good for show and tell.
I thought so. Okay, so let's just clear if anyone has any questions or needs any help so far, because I'm not going to finish the pieces. They are just like, you know, just to show you anything. I'm not going to finish them. I have enough already, but you might want to finish your pieces. So of course I can answer any questions you might have. If not, I'm going to show you something.
Okay. Yep.
Anyone wants to say anything?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you too.
Diana said that 1 millimeter is 19 gauge, but that's kind of a special order.
Yeah.
18 gauge is a little bit heavier, and
Yeah.
that's very easy to find.
Yeah, well, I think 18 gauge is fine. I just had like ordered a huge bunch of that wire because I liked it and I knew that the factory who made it went out of doing things. So I ordered a whole bunch and I always use that wire. It's kind of my favorite wire. But I mean, you have to figure out which one is working for you. So yeah. Okay, anyway, it looks like no one has more questions, maybe later. If you have any questions later, you always can email me or ask me online or something. I mean, you just tell me which workshop you were in and I'm happy to answer it even in 2 weeks or whatever. So don't worry about it. And since I showed you the tinted clay, I was thinking maybe you were wondering what I did with that tinted clay, because I'm not using it for these earrings I showed you today. So I brought out some pieces that I made with the tinted clay. Just let me take that wire stuff away. And yeah. So I made bracelets with the tinted clay, and I'm teaching how to make these hinges for the bracelets. And yeah, it's just a variation of the tinted clay, and you can make it in all kinds of patterns and shapes, and that's a real fun project as well. So this is a round one. Another round one, and here you can really see those earthy colors I was talking about. These are some of the first ones I made. The white one, white and gold. I also really like that. And that's more like a sea themed bracelet. Yeah, and they come in all kinds of shapes and color. And I'm putting them here on purpose because I'll show you something else in a second. So these are all kinds of different variations. And here you can see I also used my trusted pens on top of the tinted clay. And here I made even with, you know, like little pieces coming out, which is quite fun, I think. And now I'm going to put them like this because I'm going to show you something really special about them. And I will need to have to switch the light off for it. So don't worry if the light goes off. I will come back in a second. Can you see the night glow in them?
Everybody here is oohing and eyeing. That's very cool.
Yeah.
So they have different patterns in the night glow. Here especially you can see it. So you can make different patterns with that within the other pattern. Yeah, so you wouldn't see that when you see them in the daylight. And I showed you that earlier. This is my sample of the tinted clays from the Ranger inks. I'm going to switch the light off again and show you what that looks like in the black light. They are totally different than what you would expect. And this is the translucent white I was talking about. That gives off a real glow. And this is the normal translucent next to it. So the white is like really glowing. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild.
Since it's dark already, I could show you that today. So yeah. Okay, now I'm switching the light back on.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so that's a lot of fun, especially when you see the effects that you can get. And yeah, it's a real fun project.